What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Mayalari. To start off, a few things about me. I'm a rising senior at Boston College, and I've always had a deep passion for sports, and there's nothing more I love talking about than what is going on in the sports landscape each and every day. I have a sports radio show actually at BC with my roommate, Zach. It's on Spotify and YouTube. It's called The Playbook with Joey and Zach. I plan on using this podcast, the Primetime Sports Podcast, over the summer as a weekly rundown of happenings within the world of sports, and hope to have some featured guests come on as well for special episodes to talk about Boston sports, definitely Northeastern University sports. I know some of you definitely know I'm a big fan of Northeastern sports, in the four major sports leagues as well, the NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL. I'm psyched to be able to talk about how well the Red Sox have been playing over the past week or so. The Celtics obviously just had a big Game 4 win over the Miami Heat to tie the series up at 2-2. And I'm psyched to be able to talk about the NFL coming up just 2 or 3 months away now from the preseason and training camp. So I'm psyched to be able to talk about all four major sports leagues, and thrilled I have this opportunity to have my own podcast over the summer to highlight all of those. To start off, going to start off with the Red Sox. The Red Sox are 9-3 over their last 12 games. They just finished off a 6-1 record over this recent homestand. I feel like that's really starting to turn a corner. Like Rob Bradford said on his Twitter on Sunday, save your ticket stubs. He's 100% right. The Red Sox, as I said, 9-3 over the last 12 games. They have a 3-game series now with with Chicago, the Chicago-White Sox. And then they go play Cincinnati and Baltimore after this upcoming series in Chicago. Baltimore, actually, I know that they're a weaker team, but they have had 3 walk-off wins in their last 5 games and have taken 4 of their last 5 games, have won all 4 of their last 5. So they just finished off a series with Tampa Bay. They took 2 out of 3 from them. They had a series with the Yankees at the end of last week and took game 4. They beat them on Thursday. They beat the Yankees. So I think they only took 1 out of 4 there. But then they took 2 out of 3 from Tampa Bay and then just beat the Yankees again last night, 6-4. So they've won 4 out of their last 5 games. I do like the Orioles to a certain extent. I do love Cedric Mullins. Big fan of Trey Mancini. Trey Mancini's had a great season. He's hitting .303 on the year. So looking forward to seeing the Red Sox, obviously, play a few weaker teams. But Cincinnati, obviously, they start off the season as one of the worst teams in the history of baseball almost through the first month of the season. But Baltimore, obviously a weaker team, but they have been playing better of late. So we'll see how that goes for the Red Sox. The biggest storyline for the Red Sox actually is Trevor Story. 9-3, obviously a huge record over the last 12 games. Great way to turn the season around. But Trevor Story has been the biggest storyline of the Red Sox. 5 home runs in the last 4 games. He became just the first second baseman in MLB history to hit 3 home runs and steal a base in the same game. He's a big reason the Red Sox have really turned things around over the past week. It really started to turn things around. The Red Sox really started turning things around last week when they took 2 out of 3 from Houston. The Astros are a really good team. They've always given the Red Sox some trouble. The Red Sox had a huge win last Wednesday night with Nick Pivetta returning to his early 2021 season form. He went 9 innings, only allowed 2 hits, walked 0 guys, allowed 1 earned run. It was a home run to Jose Altuve on the 10th pitch of the first at-bat of the game. So obviously 10 pitches, you like to hit his chances to guess, fastball's coming at some point, and Altuve turned on, hit a home run. 8 strikeouts, though, for Nick Pivetta in that performance. 9 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. So he pitched really well on Wednesday, giving the Red Sox a great boost on the mound. The Red Sox really needed that. And then Thursday, the series opened with the Seattle Mariners. Everything came together for the Red Sox. J.D. Martinez, who actually just missed this past Sunday's game with back spasms, went 4-5 in that Thursday night game. Alex Verdugo, who has been struggling early this season, went 3-5 in his 5 at-bats. He scored 3 runs. Great to see him hitting home plate. He's a big reason the Red Sox offense has been playing so well over the last 2 seasons, so the Red Sox really need him to get going again. Then Trevor Story, as I said, was a story of that game, hitting 3 home runs in 4 at-bats. Adding a single in his other at-bat. He was 4 for 4. He tallied 5 runs scored, 7 RBIs, and also reached base with a walk in that game as well. So 5 times he was on base. which is nuts. He got on base 5 out of 5 plate appearances, which the Red Sox really need. He also stole a base in that game as well. That's really what the Red Sox need from him. That's why he got that 6-year, $140 million contract. He did add 117 points to his OPS in that game, which is nuts. One single game added 117 points to his OPS. And I got some of these stats, a Pete Abraham tweet. He entered last Thursday's game, with the Mariners with a 205 batting average, 2 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a 613 OPS. He left Thursday's game hitting 230, which he was 205 before, 5 home runs when he had 2 home runs before the game, 23 RBIs when he only had 16 before the game, and a 730 OPS compared to the 613 he had before that contest against Seattle. So seeing him getting going is huge for the Red Sox. I'm going to give you a good breakdown of how he's been playing over the past 5 to 6 games or so in a little bit. Another guy I want to highlight, Tanner Houck, was excellent in that Thursday game in relief for Rich Hill. Entering that Thursday game, Rich Hill was 1-0 in his last 4 starts. In his previous 4 starts before that Thursday game. In 19 innings pitched in those 4 games, he allowed just 3 runs, 2 earned, 13 hits, 4 walks, 15 strikeouts, in a .95 ERA in those 4 games. Really impressive. Although in that Thursday game he did get roughed up. He lasted just 2 innings, surrendering 4 runs off 6 hits and a walk. His ERA rose from 2.89 to 3.9 on the season. But Rich Hill has been playing really well the last 4 of his last 5 games now. Obviously, the previous 4 before that Thursday game he was pitching really well, but last game obviously got roughed up. But 4 out of 5 games will take that of a guy that, especially that's 42 years old, I believe, off the top of my head. Tanner Houck pitched great in relief in that game. As I said, 4 innings in relief were outstanding. 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 6 strikeouts, and did walk a guy. Tanner Houck's really turning a corner now, too. I know he was struggling during a little bit of portion of the early season. In his last 2 outings, Tanner Houck's gone 7 innings total, 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, and that earned run was off a home run to Cole Calhoun in Texas. He did walk 2 batters in his last 2 games, but 7 innings. You'll take that, especially for a guy that was struggling. 6 strikeouts and a 1.29 ERA over his last 2 games. And that's the thing with the Red Sox. So a lot of the guys that have been giving up earned runs, a lot of them are coming off home runs. Tanner Houck obviously only allowed 1 earned run in his last 7 innings pitched over the last 2 games he's appeared in, and that was off a home run. And then obviously, like I said, Pivetta last week, the only run he allowed in that 9-inning performance against the Houston Astros was a home run to Jose Altuve in the first part of the game, which is nuts that the Red Sox really have been pitching so well. It's just, location sometimes on one pitch can turn a game from no earned runs, obviously, to 1 earned run. And like you saw with Tanner Houck giving the home run to Cole Calhoun in one of the games against Texas. And then obviously, like I just said, that earned run for Nick Pivetta against the Astros. In Friday's game against the Mariners, which I'm going to break down the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday game. I already talked about Thursday with Nick Pivetta having a huge win for the Red Sox. Wednesday. It was last Wednesday night. Thursday, I broke down the Red Sox winning that game against Seattle was huge. Like I said, Trevor Story, 3 home runs in that game. I'm going to break down each game, though, because I feel like it really shows how things are turning around for the Red Sox right now. So in Friday's game against the Mariners, the Red Sox won 7-3, scored 3 huge insurance runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. I'm going to get into who hit that in a second. Trevor Story stayed hot in that game, hitting a grand slam in the 3rd inning for his 4th home run and his last 6 at-bats entering that contest, which is nuts. Michael Wacha pitched superb in his return from the injured list. He went 4 2/3 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs. He did walk 3 guys, had 3 strikeouts, had 1 bad pitch, gave up a 2-run home run to Mariners second baseman Abraham Toro. So just like Pivetta and Houck, the only earned runs they gave up came off home runs, which is tough. Wacha on the season, 6 starts, a 1.76 ERA. He's pitched 30.2 innings, allowing just 17 hits, 6 earned runs. He's walked 14 batters in those 30.2 innings, but has struck out 22 batters. He signed a 1-year, $7 million deal during the offseason, which right now looks like a steal for Chaim Bloom, considering last year we gave Garrett Richards that $10 million contract, and he was awful. So considering we're giving Wacha $3 million less, and he's pitched 6 better games than Garrett Richards ever gave us, you'll take that deal all day. A big key part of that game on Friday was Alex Cora's substitutions. Frangie Cordero pinch hit for Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts got tangled up, had a tough play. In shallow left center, he collided with Alex Verdugo. So Cordero came in to pinch hit in the 8th inning and singled for Xander Bogaerts when he pinch hit. Then Jackie Bradley Jr. comes up with 2 guys on base. He came in for Christian Arroyo, who's 0-3 in the contest. So really smart decision by Alex Cora to switch it up, bring a lefty in. Really good time to bring a lefty in that situation. 2 on, 2 out. So 2 guys on base, 2 outs. And Jackie Bradley Jr. hits a huge 3-run shot. The Red Sox really needed that. He really needed that. In a little bit, too, I'm going to get into Jackie Bradley's recent performance and how well he's been playing since May 3rd. The bullpen in that game was excellent. 4 1/3 innings, allowing just 1 run. It was unearned, actually, by John Schreiber. That bullpen went 4 1/3 innings, striking out 6 batters and just walking 1 guy and allowing just 1 hit. Austin Davis, Jake Diekman, John Schreiber, and Matt Strom were all terrific. A reliever who's really been a star this year is John Schreiber. In 10 games out of the pen, he's pitched 10.1 innings, allowing just 5 hits, 1 run. It was unearned, like I just pointed out in that Friday game against the Mariners. Striking out 11 batters in those 10.1 innings and walking none, which is actually probably his best statistic. Allowing no runs and walking none it's correlated heavily. If you don't put a guy on base with a walk, your chance of giving up a run definitely decrease, at least in my eyes. As a pitcher, I pitched a ton in high school. I feel like when you walk a guy, your confidence level goes down, and just having a guy on base definitely makes the situation tougher. So the correlation between no walks and no runs definitely is strong. And so Schreiber owns a 0.0 ERA and has walked no batters in the 10.1 innings he's appeared in, which is great. Moving on to Saturday's game, Garrett Whitlock was hit around. Tough game for him really early. He was hit around for 10 hits in just 3 innings, surrendering 5 runs, striking out 3 batters, didn't walk anyone. He was located to the best of his ability. It's just the Mariners were hitting really well and were just all over him. And that happens sometimes. That's a part of the game. So when the Red Sox were down 5-0, you would think, that team would give up and would just call it a day. But not this Red Sox team over the past week. They wouldn't let that happen. Rafael Devers terrorized Mariners starter Chris Flexen. He had a solo home run in the 3rd inning, put the Sox on the board when they were down 5-0. And then Devers comes back up again in the 5th inning, hits a 2-run home run. Devers finished that game 3-4 with 3 RBIs. Frangie Cordero, a guy who has earned his respect over the last 3 to 4 games, came up to the plate in a big situation at the bottom of the 8th inning. It was a 5-5 game, all tied up, hits a huge triple. Christian Vasquez, who has been struggling early this year as well, just like Cordero, just like Verdugo. Vasquez comes up to the plate, hits a single to get Cordero across home plate. It ends up being the game-winning run. Red Sox win that game 6-5. Matt Barnes came in with a 1-run lead in the 9th inning, struck out a batter and earned his 2nd save of the year. The problem with Matt Barnes really is just has been his confidence. I know the Red Sox don't have much confidence in him. Since he signed that 2-year, $18.75 million extension on July 11th, right before the All-Star break last season, July 11th, 2021, Matt Barnes owns a 2-6 record and only has 7 saves in 39 appearances in 31.1 innings pitched. In the 31.1 innings pitched since his extension, he's allowed 33 hits and walked 16 batters. He's allowed 5 home runs and surrendered 26 runs, 22 of those being earned, and has a 6.32 ERA since signing that contract. And he's allowed a 0.322 batting average on balls in play to opposing hitters, which is atrocious. I know I've given you guys a ton of stats. I took the time, went online, crunched up most of these stats, and looked at the game logs and how the Red Sox have been playing over the last 4, 5, 6 games. So giving you guys a ton of information, obviously a ton of stats, and just to give you guys some insight into how well the Red Sox have been playing over the last week. So Sunday's game, moving on, the last game I'll preview and talk about. This one was one to remember for the Red Sox. Before the Red Sox walk-off, Rob Bradford tweeted in the 10th inning, save your ticket stubs, and he predicted it correctly. I mean, whoever's at that game saw a great finish. So to start the game, Nate Eovaldi returned to the mound, coming off a brutal performance against the Houston Astros, where he allowed 5 home runs in 1 inning. Alex Spear said that it was a combined 1,970 feet on those 5 home runs, so there were some towering shots by the Astros. He allowed 5 home runs in 1 inning. He's one of 3 pitchers ever to do so. Overall, he allowed 9 runs in that game, 6 earned, and gave up 8 hits in just 1 2/3 innings. So he was out really quick. The plug was pulled very fast by Alex Cora. Sawamura pitched very well. Ryan Brazier, Matt Barnes, Diekman, Austin Davis all came in. I know the Red Sox still lost that game, but it was great to see the bullpen come in, pitch 5 innings, allow 4 hits, 1 walk, struck out 6 batters in that game against Houston. The bullpen has been better of late, and that's what the Red Sox really needed. And that's the thing. I mean, even though this game was a lost game, seeing Hirokazu Sawamura come in, Ryan Brazier, Matt Barnes, Jake Diekman, Austin Davis all pitched really well in 5 innings at the end of that game. That was huge for the Red Sox. And that's obviously confidence just going into the next game, knowing, okay, we went 5 innings, didn't allow a run. I believe it was Tyler Danish on the top of my head. He did allow a few runs. I think it was the 3rd and 4th innings he pitched. But the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, all by Sawamura, Brazier, Barnes, Diekman, and Davis. Those 4 guys right there, 5 guys, combined for 5 innings, scoreless. Anyways, Eovaldi's return to the mound on Sunday against the Mariners. He recovered heavily from that Houston game. He pitched a career high. He struck out a career high, 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. He allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs, did walk a batter, and gave up a 2-run home run. So just like I said about Pivetta giving up a home run, and Pivetta gave that home run to Jose Altuve, Tin Houck giving up that home run to Cole Calhoun, and then it was, I believe, Michael Wacha gave up that home run to Abraham Toro. Similar to all of them, Nate Eovaldi gave up 2 runs, and those 2 runs came off that home run he allowed to second baseman Adam Frazier of the Mariners. Frazier's a great hitter. He was 3 of 5 in that game. But 11 strikeouts, which is great. That's a great return to the mound for Nate Eovaldi. Speaking of the Red Sox, right now they're up 1-0 over the Chicago White Sox. Kike Hernandez starts off the game with a home run for the Sox. On the first pitch of the game, the Red Sox really are hot right now. Wow. Anyways, Nate Eovaldi, the only 2 runs he gave up was off a home run to Adam Frazier. So just like Pivetta, just like Wacha, just like Houck, the only 2 runs that Nate Eovaldi gave up were off a home run to Adam Frazier. So home runs obviously are an issue with the Red Sox, but they obviously got to get better with pitch location, and obviously that takes time, for a team to develop some gel within the starting rotation, and especially the bullpen as well. So hopefully the Red Sox get better, with pitch location, give up less home runs, but they're still winning games. Who cares about home runs they give up? You're winning. Anyways, as I said, so a lot of the earned runs the Red Sox pitchers have given up have come off home runs. Rich Hill, I believe, also, which Dev has just singled as well. Wow, the Red Sox are hot right now. Sorry about, jumping from page to page here. But anyways, Tin Houck, Rich Hill, those 2 guys pitched really well in that game. It was last Thursday, was it? Yes, last Thursday's game. Those 2 pitched great. Obviously, Nate Eovaldi returned to the mound being great. Pivetta, Michael Wacha, that's really something the Red Sox needed. So in that game, Sunday, the Red Sox faced Logan Gilbert, flame-throwing righty, on the Mariners. He's been great for Seattle. He went a strong 7 innings, allowing 3 earned runs, walked 2 guys, struck out 4 batters. Very good player. He reminds me of Tyler Glasnow on the Rays. The game came down to Eugenio Suarez of the Mariners. There's 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. Mariners down 1 run. He comes up to the plate. Hanser Robles gives him too good of a pitch. Suarez turned on it and tied the game at 4 apiece. That was the 3rd blown save for Robles this season. So the Red Sox had to go into extra innings to try to win this game. In the top of the 10th inning, Kevin Plawecki pinch hit for Christian Vasquez and singled. Yet again, another great substitution decision by Alex Cora. The Red Sox tied that game with a single by Kike Hernandez, scoring Bobby Dahlbeck from third base, because it was first and third when Kike came up. Anyways, the Sox tried to win it on a Devis single, but Mariners right fielder Dylan Moore had a different idea, hosing Vasquez at the plate. Could have been safe. It was a tough call, very controversial, but the call in the field was upheld. It all came down to it all came down to Frangie Cordero, comes up to the plate, 2 outs, bases loaded, 0-2 count. So obviously 0-2 count. It's not a hitter's count, it's a pitcher's count. And lo and behold, Frangie Cordero hits a grand slam walk-off home run. Probably the last thing I would expect, especially with how critical I have been and every Red Sox fan has been of Frangie Cordero since that Andrew Benintendi trade. Benintendi's been playing great for Kansas City this year. But Cordero hit that walk-off grand slam to right field. Jake Diekman picked up the win. Diekman, his last 10 games since April 27th. He's pitched 9 innings, giving up 2 hits. Walked 7 batters, struck out 12, but has allowed 0 runs over those 10 games in those 9 innings. He has had 2 blown saves, but 4 holds in his last 10 games. And he's allowed a .074 batting average to opposing batters over the last 10 games, which is really impressive. And the Red Sox bullpen has been pitching great of late. That's really what they needed. It was a big weakness of this team early on in the season, so I'm happy to see them getting going, getting hot. Just want to give you guys some interesting statistics here. So the last 12 games, 12 is the magic number for the Red Sox. The last 12 games could be the turning point for the Red Sox on the early part of this season. Alex Cora shaved his beard on May 10th. And since then, the Red Sox are 9-3. They hold, at this time, when I was looking this up, they had the best record in the MLB over that stretch. They're still in the top, definitely. They hit .285 over that stretch, over those 12 games. Have a .348 on-base percentage as a team, and they're averaging 6.58 runs a game. They've hit 19 home runs over those 12 games. I know on my show, The Playbook with Joey and Zach, I talked about the Red Sox offense has not been hitting enough home runs. It's really been just Bogarts, Devers, and Martinez has been the big part of the whole entire offense, really the only part of the offense, early part of the season, in the early window of the season. And that's the thing, with how the Red Sox have looked over the past week or so, the hitters are definitely hitting more confidently. Everyone's getting up to the plate. Everyone's been hitting great situationally. I mean, the Red Sox really have needed some big hits and some key moments, and they've been getting that of late, which is huge. So since Alex Cora shaved his beard, the Red Sox are 9-3. They've hit 19 home runs over those 12 games, 77 runs batted in those 12 games, and have also stolen 6 bases. Stealing bases has been a lost art in the game of baseball, and that's the thing. Stealing 6 bases definitely puts another guy in scoring position, which definitely helps you score more runs. Anyways, so in those 29 games before May 10th, before Alex Cora shaved his beard, the Red Sox had a 3.71 ERA as a team. As I've said before, the starting pitching was not the issue early in the season. It was the bullpen. The Red Sox do lead the league right now with blown saves with 11. And also the Red Sox offense was just not scoring enough. In those 29 games, the Red Sox had a 10-19 record and hit .228 as a team, hitting just 16 home runs compared to the 19 the Red Sox have hit now over the last 12 games. So 16 home runs in the first 29 games of the season. And the last 12 games, the Red Sox have hit 19 home runs. So 7 more home runs for the Red Sox in 17 less games, which is really impressive. In that stretch of 29 games, the Red Sox averaged 3.27 runs per game compared to the 6.58 runs per game they've now averaged over the last 12 games. Only had 94 RBIs in those 29 games compared to the 77 the Red Sox have had in the last 12. And 4 stolen bases the Red Sox had in those 29 games compared to the 6 they've had in the last 12 games. So since Alex Cora shaved his beard, the Red Sox have really been turning things around. And that's the thing. They've been exciting to watch. I feel like coming on right now and being able to talk about the Red Sox, it's something I'm excited about and I'm happy I'm able to do because they've just been playing so well. And I know early in the season, with my podcast at BC with my roommate Zach, I wasn't really feeling excited talking about them because they were struggling, and now I want to talk about them, which is obviously the reason I've been talking about them now for 20 plus minutes, just because of how well they've been playing. And they gave me this drive, actually, knowing how well they've been playing. I want to look at the statistics into how well they've been playing, because I know they've been scoring more runs, but I didn't realize it was 6.58 runs per game over the last 12 games they've been averaging compared to just the 3.27 runs per game they were averaging in the previous 29 games. So I looked up a ton of the stats for the Red Sox over the past 12 games, and a ton of crunching between game logs and checking their OPS and home runs and strikeouts and walks and ERAs for all the pitches and everything. I did a ton of that just to be able to come on here and talk about how well they've been playing and how much they've improved. You definitely have to give some credit to Kevin Youkilis, who's been in the booth finessing. His rally headband he's been putting on for the Red Sox in the later innings of the last few games has really gotten the mojo going for the Sox. So hopefully he keeps that going for the rest of the season. Anyways, Trevor Story in his last 12 games. In that 12-game stretch, he's had 13 hits and 53 plate appearances. 44 at-bats it was. He had 7 walks. 7 home runs in his last 12 games. 13 runs scored, 19 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 4 attempts. Something the Sox need is stealing bases. Stolen bases have been something the Red Sox have really been hard to come by. They have the 3rd worst stolen base total in the MLB. So happy that Trevor Story's been stealing some bases since the Red Sox really need it. In his last 12 games, he's hit .296 and has a 1.173 OPS over the last 12 games. So he's been playing really well. He actually was just the American League Player of the Week, very unsurprisingly. I don't know who could have been the Player of the Week besides him, but he had 6 home runs over the past week, 14 RBIs, a .360 batting average, a 1.12 slugging percentage, and 1.572 OPS. In that 4-game series against the Mariners, he had 5 home runs, had 13 RBIs, hit .400, and had a 1.844 OPS, which is just unreal. That's tremendous. You're never going to see someone with the hottest series of Trevor Story than Trevor Story had against the Mariners. Anyways, Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, and J.D. Martinez have been the heart of the Red Sox offense. J.D. currently right now is 2nd in the American League in batting average with a .349 batting average. Devers is 3rd in the American League with a .335 batting average, and Xander is tied for 5th with a .325 average. Right now, though, former Red Sox fan favorite and star Andrew Benintendi has had a stellar year, as I said earlier in the show. He's 4th right now in the American League with a .329 batting average. So a lot of current Red Sox and former Red Sox in that top 5, which is great. J.D. Martinez and Rafael Devers right now are tied with each other for 1st in the AL for doubles with 15. So happy to see the Red Sox offense getting going. The Red Sox really needed that. So it's some interesting stats I came across just looking at the game logs of Devers and, crunching things left and right and, flipping pages. Rafael Devers in the 41 games he's played this year, he's had at least 1 hit in 36 of those 41 games. Only 5 games he went 0 for. And in 2 of those 5 games, he reached with a walk. So Devers reached base in 38 of 41 games this year, which is huge. And this is a contract year for Devers. It's a contract year for Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts has cooled down of late. He was hitting .375 in April. He's hitting just .268 in May. Still hitting .325 in the season, though, which is really impressive. Moving on really quickly, Devers in the month of May had a .385 batting average, has a .385 batting average, I should say, with a 1.172 OPS. He's had 6 home runs, has 15 RBIs, has walked 6 times, and has 30 hits and 78 at-bats in the month of May. Crossing the plate 15 times with 15 runs scored, has 8 doubles, has a triple, so he shows you has some speed and a stolen base. In his last 15 games for Rafael Devers, he's a .426 batting average, a 1.306 OPS, 5 home runs he's hit, has 14 RBIs, and 26 hits in 61 at-bats. I know I'm giving you guys a ton of statistics. I had a fun time finding all of these. I figure some Red Sox fans were definitely interested to see how well the Red Sox have been playing of late. Anyways, J.D. Martinez has had at least 1 hit in 30 of 33 games he's played this year. In the 3 games he did not have a hit, he reached base with a walk in 2 of those 3 games. So he's reached base in 32 of 33 games this year, which is spectacular. J.D. in the month of May, in his last 18 games, he has 30 hits and 75 at-bats, has hit 4 home runs, has hit 12 guys across with 12 RBIs, walked 4 times, has scored 13 runs, has a .400 batting average. Great to see him and Devers stay hard in the month of May. Obviously, Bogaerts has been cooling down a little, but I still have confidence in him. It's a big year for Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers, a contract year for both. So hopefully the Red Sox find a way to keep both of them around since they really need them, in my opinion. Anyway, since May 3rd, Jackie Bradley Jr., a guy obviously Red Sox fans don't have much confidence in offensively. I always like Jackie Bradley. He's a very streaky hitter. Since May 3rd, Jackie Bradley has a .280 batting average in 16 games played. He has a home run, 9 RBIs, 3 walks, and an 801 OPS, which is great for Jackie Bradley since May 3rd. And has also hit 7 doubles, 14 hits and 50 at-bats since May 3rd, and hit 280. And that's the thing. With Jackie Bradley, I feel like a lot of the time, he's obviously cool for majority of the season. When he gets hot, and 280 is actually great for him over the last 16 games. So I'm happy to see him playing well, especially with how great he is defensively. It's great to have his glove in the field and his arm in the field. So hopefully he keeps hitting so it's easy to keep him in the lineup for the Red Sox. In the last 3 games, Franchi Cordero, a guy obviously not many people had confidence in. I still, had my critiques of him even up until that last grand slam he had on Sunday for that walk-off home run, which was electric. Franchi Cordero in his last 13 at-bats has only 3 hits, right? In those 3 hits he's had, they're all clutch. All huge hits, very good situational hits the Red Sox really needed in big moments. So in the last 4 games, he only has 3 hits. Right? He had a pinch hit single in Friday's contest against the Mariners, ended up scoring the game-winning run, or ended up scoring on Jackie Bradley Jr.'s 3-run home run, which is a great insurance run to give the Red Sox a bigger lead in the bottom of the 8th. On Saturday, he had a triple in the bottom of the 8th inning in a 5-5 game against the Mariners, ended up scoring the game-winning run when Vasquez hit him in, and then also had a grand slam, like I have said now probably 10 times, in the bottom of the 10th inning on Sunday. So 3 hits, but all of them are clutch hits in his last 3 hits. So I'm happy to see him, even though he's not hitting well this season, he's been hitting in the right moments. So that's been huge for the Red Sox. Hansel Robles, another guy I want to highlight really quick. In 9 appearances in April, so I'm talking about a ton of guys who have been getting hot of late. Hansel Robles has actually been cool of late, just like Xander Bogaerts hitting 268 in May. Hansel Robles in the month of May, he's cooled down heavily. In April, he was great. He went 9.2 innings in 9 appearances, gave up 6 hits, had a .93 ERA, yielded 2 walks, gave up 2 walks, struck out 9 batters, and allowed a .167 opposing batting average, which is great in April. But then in May, in 7 appearances, he has a .491 ERA compared to just the .93 he had in 9 appearances in April. He's allowed 4 earned runs and 6 hits and 7.1 innings pitched. In May. Despite that, Robles still holds a 2.65 ERA for the year. So just like Xander Bogaerts, they had great months of April, great month of baseball in April. Then obviously in May have been struggling. So 2 months of season, 1 month hot, 1 month cold. But I'll tell you this, with him pitching so well of late and holding a 2.65 ERA, you'll take that, especially with how much the Red Sox bullpen has been struggling. There you have it. Wow, Trevor Story just hit his 8th home run of the season. 3-run moonshot for Trevor Story. 4-0 Red Sox right now against the Chicago White Sox in the first inning. Wow, 4-0. Wow, the Red Sox really been extending this lead. I know I'm all over the place with this, but the Red Sox, as we're speaking, they're making more and more headlines here with how many home runs they've been hitting. Anyways, Hansel Robles, as I said, had a cold month of April, just like Xander Bogaerts, but with the great month of April they had, they still hold good batting averages, .325 for Bogaerts and a 2.65 ERA for Robles, which is great for the year. The Red Sox really need Hansel Robles, Jake Diekman, Matt Strum, John Schreiber, and Tan Houck to stay hot out of the bullpen, especially with Garrett Whitlock staying in the starting rotation. Austin Davis, the last reliever I'm going to highlight, he's yielded just 1 run in 16.1 innings in his last 15 appearances. In those 15 appearances, he has a .55 ERA, and this is since April 15th. He's racked up 20 strikeouts and has walked only 6 batters in that time frame since April 15th. So that's a really good last 15 appearances for him. And these stats I just got about Austin Davis, yielding just 1 run in those 16.1 innings. I got that in a stat tweeted from Chris Smith of MassLive.com today. Anyways, pitching woes have been something for the Red Sox early in this season. As I said, 11 blown saves for the Red Sox early in the year. And actually, I got this statistic right here from a Fansided article. The Boston Injection is a Red Sox blog on Fansided. And it said on there the Red Sox are one of only 4 teams in baseball with more losses by relief pitchers than saves. 12 losses compared to 7 saves. Which is nuts. The Red Sox definitely have to get better in the bullpen. I know I've been saying they've been playing great of late. They definitely still have to get better. There's still a lot to improve upon there for the Red Sox. Anyways, Xander Bogaerts will be a free agent at the end of the year. The great Chris Cotillo of MassLive.com said in a tweet on Monday, yesterday, said that David Ortiz said it would be stupid to let a guy like Xander Bogaerts go, and I agree with him. I think you have to keep Xander Bogaerts. I know he's going into his age 30 season, but I feel like with how important he's been to this Red Sox team, this fan base, Red Sox Nation as a whole over the past 5-6 years, 10 years almost, actually. He was on the Red Sox in the 2013 World Series. Anyways, getting rid of him would definitely be a tough look for the Red Sox. I'm hoping they keep him, find a way to keep him in Red Sox in a Red Sox uniform. Anyways, just want to give some updated MLB predictions for the World Series. I gave it on my show earlier in the year. I had Red Sox Phillies. Both teams are under 500 right now. Obviously, the Red Sox have been playing well of late. The Phillies, with Bryce Harper getting hurt and not being able to play the field, now he has to DH. That's definitely a tough loss for them. If I update my predictions right now, I think it could be an LA World Series. I think it could be Angels-Dodgers. Right now, if I had to pick, I think Angels-Dodgers is definitely a possibility. And if I didn't go Dodgers, I'd go Mets. And the only reason I'm not going Mets right now is because of Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom both being hurt. They've been struggling to stay healthy. The Mets, deGrom especially over the past few years, have been struggling to stay healthy. But with deGrom out until at least July, and Scherzer now out for around 2 months with an oblique injury, it'll definitely be tough for them. I know they've obviously been pitching great. McGill's been great for them in the rotation, and they've had great pitching performances from Carlos Carrasco and Chris Bassett. But I feel like it'll be tough for them to stay as strong as they've stayed now in the early part of the season without Scherzer deGrom. I still see them having a really good season, but without those two guys, I don't think I can have them in the World Series. So I'm sorry to my roommate Dan. Anyways, I have the Angels versus the Dodgers right now if I had to pick. Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, two of the most likable players in the MLB. I'm rooting for both of them heavily. Those two guys, as I said, very likable players, but two great players too. I feel like every single time you turn on the TV, there is something about Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani doing something big. Someone hit a home run. Ohtani threw 100 miles an hour and then also, got 2 hits in the same game. I mean, every game you watch with the Angels, something exciting is going on. So I'm excited to see how this season plays out. I'd be really happy for the LA Angels if they were to make the play. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They're definitely going to make the playoffs in my eyes, especially since they have such a great record right now. But I would love to see them make the World Series. I feel like it'd be a great story for the game of baseball, especially if it's against the Dodgers. Imagine that. The LA Angels of Anaheim versus the LA Dodgers. That'd be huge. I'd be a big fan of that. Anyways, moving on, wanted to talk about the NHL playoffs really quickly. The Florida Panthers should have lost to the Washington Capitals. The Capitals blew some games, obviously, against them, which I talked about on my radio show a little bit. So in this series, Tampa Bay did just sweep them 4-0. They won Game 4 last night. I had Tampa Bay over Florida, I think it's 6 games. If I remember right, that would have been my prediction. And Tampa Bay ended up beating them in 4 games. I thought Florida was overrated all year, especially with the Caps really blowing games against them. The Caps really could just not close out in the third period. 3 straight games, they couldn't close in the third period. That's the thing. I mean, you have to finish games, especially in the NHL playoffs, especially you have to close games. And that's what the Capitals weren't doing, obviously, in games. It was Game 6, 5, and 4. 4, 5, and 6, they could just not close. They held a lead. In Game 4 it was, and blew a 2-1 lead in the third period. And then in Game 5 against the Panthers, the Capitals were up. At one point, I believe, let me see, it was 3-0 Caps 3 minutes into the second period in Game 5. They ended up blowing that Game 5-3, giving them 5 straight goals. And then in Game 6, the Caps were up 1-0 right away. 3 minutes in the second period, they were up 1-0. They held a 2-1 lead, in the third period. Ended up losing that. Florida went on to score 2 goals in a row. Claude Giroux, who me and Mike Curley, sports guru, hopefully I'll have him come on at some point onto the show. He wanted Giroux and the Bruins. He scored a huge goal for the Panthers to tie the game at 2. And then TJ Oshie had a huge goal to tie the game at 3-3 with a minute to go in the third period. And then obviously Game 6, the Florida Panthers went on to win 4-3 in OT over the Capitals. So going into this series against Tampa Bay, I thought Tampa Bay would win this series just because I thought Florida was overrated. I thought the Capitals should have beat them, and they just couldn't close out a game. So Tampa Bay closing out that series in 4 was surprising to many. For me, though, I thought they would have won the series anyways. Tampa Bay is such a great team. Nikita Kucherov, Ryan McDonough, Vasilevsky's been great in net, and obviously Steven Stamkos is huge. So many great players on that team, honestly. Fun team to watch. Edmonton right now is up 2-1 over Calgary. I actually would have had Edmonton taken this series in 6 games. Right now they're up 2-1. I still think they win this series. One thing to watch is how great Connor McDavid's been playing in this whole playoffs run he's had for Edmonton. He scored a point in all 10 playoff games except for one. And last night, in a huge game, it was 2 nights ago, because they played tonight. 2 nights ago against Calgary in a huge win, he had 3 assists. And then the game before that had a goal and assist. And then the game before that, it was game 1 against Calgary. He had a goal and 3 assists, 4 points. It's just nuts how good he is. 10 games in the playoffs. He has 23 points in 10 games, 6 goals, 17 assists, has a plus 16 plus minus, which is absolutely nuts. It also has 3 power play goals, which is huge. Anyways, he's been playing great of late. 1 power play goal, 3 power play assists, so 4 points on the power play, and has 40 shots in those 10 games. So he's not afraid of shooting the puck, which is huge. But with how well he's been playing, I think they could take this series against Calgary. I know he's just one player, but obviously Draisaitl is a great player as well. I feel like Calgary obviously has Johnny Gaudreau, former BC Eagle. I know my dad's a big fan of him. Mike Hurley, a lot of BC fans are huge fans of him. I think he's a great player myself. I just feel like the underdog. I always like taking the underdog. And I feel like Edmonton can take this series in 6 games. Right now, it's my prediction. I have the Rangers over the Hurricanes in 7 games. They're playing tonight. And let me see. And then, so I got Edmonton over the Flames in 6. I got the Rangers over the Hurricanes in 7. And then in the next round, I'll have Tampa Bay over Florida. I have Tampa Bay over the Rangers, in 5 games. Edmonton over Colorado in 7 games. Give me Colorado, actually, in this series against the Blues. I'll take Colorado in 6. And then Tampa Bay, the next round. I know I'm making this confusing. I apologize for that. So in the current series right now, I'll have the Rangers over the Hurricanes in 7. Tampa Bay, I had in 6 games over Florida. I have Edmonton over the Flames in 6. And give me Colorado over the St. Louis Blues in 6. In the next series, give me Edmonton over Colorado in 7. Tampa Bay over the Rangers in 5. And then in the Stanley Cup Finals right now, my prediction is Tampa Bay over Edmonton in 6 games. It might be a bold prediction to some. I didn't follow hockey enough this whole entire season to have made a prediction earlier in the year. But you always can bet on Tampa Bay. Obviously, they won the last 2 seasons. You can always bet on them being a team right there till the end. So right now, my prediction is Tampa Bay over Edmonton in 6 games in the Stanley Cup Finals. Anyways, moving on now to the Boston Celtics in their series against the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. The first 3 games of the series was kind of all over the place, honestly. The Celtics outscored Miami in 10 of the first 12 quarters of the series, but still lost 2 of the first 3 games. 2 really bad quarters for the Celtics prevented the Celtics from having from changing this series drastically. And that's the thing. Now it's 2-2, obviously tied up. But when Robert Williams and Al Horford both play, the Celtics have blown out Miami. Robert Williams, as I said earlier in the year, earlier in the playoffs, on my radio show at BC, before the playoffs started, actually, against Brooklyn, I said that he could be the X factor against the Nets. And I still feel like he's the X factor now for the Celtics. He wreaks havoc in the paint, makes teams avoid driving down the lane, rebounds very well, blocks shots, is a staple in the paint for the Celtics. And he definitely changes the course of the game every single night he is on the floor. So hopefully he finds a way to stay healthy and returns to the lineup fully for the Celtics for the rest of the playoffs. I know he's been in and out, and he was banged up a little bit, actually, at the end of Game 4 last night. The Celtics definitely could use him healthy. Anyways, Game 3, I'm going to talk about Game 3 and Game 4, break down those really quick. Game 3, I've never seen a team hand the ball away like the Celtics did in Game 3. They were so careless with the ball. Miami did play strong defense, don't get me wrong. But the Celtics were literally just handing them the ball to a certain extent. Tatum and Brown were awful with their passes and decision-making. Tatum had 6 turnovers. Jalen had 7. 13 combined turnovers, your 2 best players. That cannot happen, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals, especially when it's a 1-1 series. I mean, everything's on the line. Tatum's Game 3 performance was honestly a huge struggle for him. That's the reason I don't see him as a top 5 player in the NBA, because it's every other game it feels like he has a game where he's off and a game that he's on. And when he's off, the Celtics lose. They don't really win too many games that he's off or Jalen's off. I don't see him being a top 5 player, just because top 5 players do not disappear on a game-to-game basis, especially in a game with such high stakes. In Game 3, Tatum was 3 of 14 from the field, scored just 10 points, and was 1 of 7 from 3. The Celtics lost without Jimmy Butler even playing the second half. I mean, Jimmy Butler was out the second half, and the Celtics still couldn't find a way to win Game 3, which was just disappointing. Bam Adebayo did step up in a huge way for Miami. He really didn't do too much in the first few games of the series. Or it was Game 2, he really didn't do much. He scored 31 points and grabbed 10 rebounds in Game 3. A real big storyline actually in the game, obviously I said with the Celtics turnovers, was Miami's efficiency on offense. They only had 8 turnovers compared to the Celtics 23. Somehow the Celtics only lost by 6 with 23 turnovers compared to 8. 15 more turnovers, only lost by 6, which is impressive, actually. Should have won the game then. The Celtics had a 1-point game, and Miami's once up by 26. The Celtics had a 1-point game with 2 or 3 minutes to go, but Miami was up 26 at 1 point. So the Celtics really did come back. That's why I said this whole series has been really all over the place, off and on. But a bad first quarter, the Celtics being outscored 39-18 in the first quarter, Game 3, really just put that game away and put them in a huge hole. Jaylen Brown did play really well scoring-wise. He shot 4 of 20 from the field and scored 40 points, but at the end of the day, you're not going to win too many games where you turn the ball over 23 times. Miami, I believe, had 19 steals in the game and had 33 points off turnovers and forced 23 turnovers, which is nuts. Anyways, Game 4, last night the Celtics won. Huge win for the Celtics. They really needed it. The Heat forced 24 turnovers, had 19 steals and 33 points off turnovers in Game 3. So going into Game 4, Ime Udoka had to make changes, and Jason Tatum had to play better, and Jaylen Brown as well. Jaylen Brown still didn't play too great last night. But anyways, the Celtics came out really hot, and that's what they had to do. In the first quarter, at the halfway point, the Celtics were up 14-1. They had an 18-1 start to the game with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. So the first 8 minutes of the game, the Celtics were up 18-1. And the Miami Heat became the first team since 2009 to not have a field goal in a playoff game within the first 7 minutes of a contest. They only had 1 point in the first 8 minutes and 38 seconds of the game and missed their first 14 field goal attempts. So you're never going to see a team start off that cold like Miami did yesterday. They hit their first field goal with a three-pointer by Victor Oladipo. I'm a big fan of Oladipo. Always have been. He hit his first field goal with 3:20 left in the first quarter. That was Miami's first field goal, which is nuts. Miami was 3 of 20 from the floor in the first quarter, and the Celtics are up 29-11. The Celtics really had to come out hot and stay hot. Robert Williams made a huge difference for the Celtics. He had 8 rebounds in the first quarter, just about. At the 10:32 mark of the second quarter, he already had 8 rebounds. Oladipo was really the only scoring Miami had all night. He had 13 of Miami's first 18 points at the 9:30 mark of the second quarter. Jaylen Brown was cold in the first half. Started the game 1 of 8 from the floor to open the game. Speaking of cold, the Miami Heat starters were 5 of 25 from the field in the first half and combined for just 12 points. They had no points out of P.J. Tucker or Max Strus in the first half and only had 1 field goal made apiece from Bam Adebayo and Kyle Lowry. They're not going to win many games when that happens. Anyways, Victor Oladipo at 18 of Miami's 33 first half points. He was 5 of 7 from the field in the first half, shot 3 of 4 from 3 and had 3 rebounds. The Miami Heat were 11 for 39 from the field. They played a lot stronger in the last 3 minutes of the second quarter. The Heat had 8 points in the paint in the first half, and Rob Williams was a big reason why they were struggling to score in the paint on drives. He definitely disrupts the game, and I'm happy to see him back. Hopefully he stays healthy. Celtics definitely need him healthy. I mean, he definitely disrupts the game, as I said. And yesterday it looked like he was hobbling a little bit, I believe, in the third quarter. Then they took him out. So hopefully he's healthy and back for Game 5 tomorrow night. Anyways, Robert Williams, in his return, finished the game with 8 points, 9 rebounds, had a block at 5 offensive boards. That's huge. The Celtics really needed that. Speaking of the first half stats, that's Rob Williams over the course of the game, but I was just highlighting first half stats. I felt like the first half really told the whole story of the game. Since the second half, the Celtics ended up only winning that game, I believe, by 20. But it was a lot. It was a lot further of a deficit for Miami than 20 points. I mean, they were down 32 at one point. So I'm really just telling the first half because that really told the mostly the whole story of the game. Miami Heat. As I said, 5 of 25 from starters in the first half. Compared to the Celtics as a team shot 16 of 43 in the first half at 20 points in the paint. Tatum recovered from his 10-point Game 3 performance with 24 first-half points yesterday. Shot 6-11 from the field, 0-4 from 3. He's in 1 of 7 from 3 in Game 3 and 1 of 7 from 3 in Game 4. So 2 of 14 from 3, 1 of 7 and 1 of 7. He's been 2 of 14 from 3 over the last 2 games, so he's definitely going to shoot better there. But in the first half, yesterday, he had 7 rebounds and 3 assists. The Celtics were 4 of 17 from 3 in the first half. They relied on threes heavily, but they got to the line a ton, shot 26 free throws, made 21 of them, and out-rebounded the Heat 33-20, in the first half yesterday. As I said, Rob Williams' presence was huge for the Celtics. In the first half, when I just gave his breakdown of his stats, that was first half stats. 8 points, 9 rebounds, a block, and 5 offensive boards for Rob Williams in the first half. Al Horford had no first half points, but may have been the most influential player for the Celtics on the floor. He had 8 rebounds and a block, was all over the place in the defensive end, and in the paint. The Celtics really needed that. He played really well in the first half, and overall yesterday he played great. Jaylen Brown, so overall the Celtics obviously won the game, but Jaylen Brown definitely cut down his turnovers, which is great, but still struggled from the field. 5 of 20 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, had 12 points, 7 rebounds. Jason Tatum finished the game 8 of 16 from the floor with 31 points, 8 rebounds, also dished out 5 assists. Celtics stars were 4 of 22 from 3-point range. Cold from 3. They need to get better in Game 5. You're not going to win many games shooting 4 of 22 from 3. Anyways, Rob Williams had 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks overall. Al Horford, 5 points, but 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 blocks. Huge game for Al Horford yesterday. He's really shined in the playoffs, this whole playoff run for the Celtics. Payne Pritchard had double figures again. 4 of the last 5 games, he's had double-digit performances. In a key statistic, actually, the Celtics haven't lost back-to-back home games since January, which I found out through looking up stats and stuff online. They're 5-2 on the road in the playoffs. So going into tomorrow, huge game, Game 5 with the 2-2 series. Celtics need to improve that record, go to 6-2 on the road in the playoffs. Celtics right now are 5-0 in games after loss in the playoffs, so they always rebound well and recover, which speaks well and highly of how well Ime Udoka has been coaching late in the season. The largest Celtics lead yesterday was 32 points. They recovered very well from their turnover woes in Game 3. They only had 9 turnovers in Game 4 compared to the 24 they had in Game 3. As for the Heat, they only had 18 points from starters yesterday, which is abysmal. The previous NBA playoff low for a team was 25 points from a starting 5, so 18. Horrendous game for the Miami Heat. They shot 7 of 36 in the field, their starters, with a 19.4 field goal percentage. No Tyler Hero is obviously a big loss for them, but a positive for them, which is a negative for the Celtics, was Duncan Robinson getting more confidence with some fourth quarter points. Mark Jackson pointed out on the broadcast that the last thing the Celtics want in a blowout is for Duncan Robinson to get confidence back, since he terrorized the Celtics a couple years ago in the playoffs with his 3-point shooting. He finished with 14 points and 4 rebounds, 4 of 8 shooting from 3 yesterday. And I agree with them. You never want to see Duncan Robinson get hot, since he's going to bring that confidence into tomorrow's game. The Celtics out-rebounded Miami 60-39 yesterday. Jimmy Butler struggled heavily in the game, and the Heat need everything out of him they can in order for them to win. They still won Game 3 without him in the second half. He didn't play in the second half of Game 3. But without Hero yesterday, they really struggled. So I feel like they need Butler and Hero on the floor for them to beat the Celtics. But then again, though, I say that, though, and they were without Jimmy Butler and the second half of Game 3 and without Tyler Hero for the most part of the fourth quarter in Game 3 and still won that game. So I guess they can win without him. But I think for a full course of a game, they need both of them healthy and on the court. Jimmy Butler only scored 6 points yesterday on 3 of 14 shooting from the field. In Hero's absence, you have to have a lot better of a game if you're not getting your scoring from Tyler Hero. Jimmy Butler did not do well. Kyle Lowry did not play well yesterday. He finished with only 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting off the bench. He needs to do better. And then Gabe Vincent only had 6 points. Did have 7 assists, but he's a guy that shot really well for them in the earlier part of the series. So Miami definitely has a lot to improve upon there. The Celtics dominated the free throw line, 32 of 38 from the free throw line compared to Miami's 8 of 14 from the free throw line. So my overall outlook right now, I think this still goes 7 games. Marcus Smart and Tyler Hero's returns would be crucial for both teams. Miami's largest lead in Game 3 was 26 points, right? The Celtics' largest lead in Game 4 was 32 points. And neither team shot well in Game 4. So both teams are going to have to improve shooting-wise. Those are just 3 interesting stats there. That Miami's largest lead was 26. They only ended up winning that game by 6 in Game 3. The Celtics' largest lead was 32 points. In Game 4, they ended up winning that game by 20. But the Celtics didn't shoot well yesterday. They were 31 of 78 from the field, 39.7% field goal percentage, and 8 of 34 threes the Celtics hit yesterday for 23.5 field goal percentage from 3, which isn't good at all. Miami didn't shoot well themselves, 30 of 90 from the field, 33.3% field goal percentage, and had a 38.9% as a team field goal percentage from 3, which is better than the Celtics' 23.5%. Tatum being 1 of 7 from 3 in each of the last 2 games definitely has to improve. That's something that the Celtics definitely need more out of him from three-point land, especially since we take so many threes. I mean, we took 34 threes as a team yesterday, only hitting 8 of them. That's not good. The Celtics have to be better than that. Anyways, wanted to highlight really quick on the other side, the Western Conference, the Warriors are just such a fun team to watch. I mean, going in to this series against the Mavericks, I thought they'd win it, maybe in 5 games, 6 games. Right now, I think they're going to sweep the Mavericks tonight. They play actually in a few minutes. They start that game. I think they sweep the Mavericks tonight, win Game 4. They've just been unreal to watch. Game 3, I watched just about all of it. Steph Curry had 31 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, with 5 of 10 from 3. They're just such a fun team to watch. Jordan Poole off the bench, putting up 10 points and 5 rebounds, hitting 2 big threes, hit a big 3 with about a minute to go. They cut it. The Mavericks cut the score. Dinwiddie hit a huge 3. Spencer Dinwiddie hit a huge 3 for the Mavericks. Cut it to 104.99 with a minute 15 to go, and then Jordan Poole hit the biggest shot of the game with 54 seconds to go to make it a 3. He had a 3-pointer to make it an 8-point game with 54 seconds to go, and that kind of put everything away. But they're such a fun team to watch. The Warriors. If you watch, just even a quarter of them play, it's up-tempo basketball. They're drilling threes, playing quick, playing hard, getting rebounds, diving on loose balls. Speaking of rebounds, they out-rebounded Golden State out-rebounding Dallas in Game 3, 55-43. They also shot very well from three-point land over the whole playoffs. They've been shooting very well from three-point land. And free throws, that's actually one thing I want to highlight. They've been shooting so well from the free throw line, 22 of 25 as a team. They shot as a team at the line. The Warriors shot in Game 3. They shoot very well. They get themselves to the line. I don't see either way. I don't know if the Celtics or the Heat could beat the Warriors. I just feel like Steph Curry, this could be his year, especially when he goes off on a run. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green played unbelievable last game on defense. Draymond had 2 steals and a block, also 10 points. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Andrew Wiggins was huge, actually, in the game. I forgot to mention him. 27 points, 11 rebounds. Shot 1 of 5 from 3, 11 of 20 from the field, but had a huge performance, 27 points, and that's really what they needed. The Warriors needed that out of them. I think they win that game tonight. I see them taking Game 4, sweeping the Mavericks, and then now having, who knows, probably 5 to 6, 7 days off while the Heat-Celtics series continues. So we'll see how that goes. I think the Warriors are the team to beat. Right now, I don't see anyone really beating them, especially with how well they've been playing of late. It's going to be tough for any team to come up strong and beat that team, especially with them being, I believe they'll be the home team if they play the Celtics. Not sure who would have the seeding if it was Celtics Warriors. Let me see. if it was Heat Warriors, excuse me. The Warriors' record was 53-29. Miami's record was, in the regular season, 53-29. Miami's record was 53-29 also. Wow. So I wonder who would be the home team. Regardless, I feel like it'd be tough for anyone to beat Golden State, especially if they were to have, home court advantage there. As for the Celtics series, I think it goes 7 games. I think it could go either way, but right now if I had to pick, I'm going to go Celtics in 7. The reason why I say it could go either way is just because the Celtics get cold, and each team has been off and on every single game. I still think the Celtics are the better team. They have to really put that together and not have 2 bad quarters. 2 bad quarters are the reason why the Celtics aren't up 4-0 in this series and didn't sweep the Heat. So that's the thing. I think it's going to go 7 games. I see the Celtics right now winning in 7. So now coming on, we have a very special guest, Paul from South Boston, joining the show. He was on my show, The Playbook with Joey and Zach at BC. Have him coming on here to give us some opinions on the Celtics and the Red Sox. Psyched to have him on. How you doing, Paul?
Good to be here, Joe. Thanks.
Happy to have you on. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyways, want to start out Celtics 2-2 series right now. What have you seen from them? What do you think should happen in Game 5? Any of your thoughts you think on the series?
I'd probably lead off with I think the Celtics are a better team than Miami. I think Miami knows it, but I know Spoelstra is a great coach, and he's probably strategizing on how to win the series. And I think they're hoping, obviously they got to win Game 5, but I think they see the series going 7. And it's like he knows what games he has to win. I mean, I can't explain that dud they laid last night, but it's how do you go from one team winning by 30 and the next game the other team winning by 30? I know a major difference might be Robert Williams, but I think Miami knew they wanted the split here just like we wanted the split there. But I think they know we're better than them, and Spoelstra's thinking Miami's best chance will be to steal a Game 7 down there. But Robert Williams sure seems like a difference. Adebayo's numbers are much different when Williams is in the game to when he's not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mentioned Robert Williams making a big difference for the Celtics, and I mentioned Adebayo playing really well in Game 3 and then obviously not doing as well in Game 4, but I didn't talk about Robert Williams being the reason. I talked about Miami struggling as a whole with Robert Williams being back, but I didn't highlight the Adebayo-Williams matchup like you did, which honestly is huge. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. What do you think of Game 5 tomorrow night? You think the Celtics can win that? They can steal that? I mean, it's obviously a 2-2 series. It's gone back and forth. What do you think?
I'm amazed when I woke up and I saw the Vegas line, the Celtics were favored in Miami in Game 5. What does that tell you? That tells you that the Celtics are a better team. And I think guys like Marcus Smart, who didn't play, Jaylen Brown, who did play, are going to come up playing big games tomorrow night in Game 5. And I think the Celtics will win. And I think if that's the case, there's a very good chance they're going to win it in Game 6 back here in Boston. Again, I think the Celtics are a better team, and they might just prove it tomorrow night.
All right, yeah, I think they're the better team, too. It's just about putting it together. Obviously, this series could have been a sweep 4-0 if the Celtics just didn't have 2 bad quarters in, Game 1 and Game 3 that really ruined their chances of winning those 2 games. Obviously, being outscored 39-18 in Game 3 was the first quarter of Game 3. Brutal way to start the game. You can't start games on a 39-18 deficit. You're not going to win many games. They did make it close, 6-point game in the end, but you're never going to win many games down by that many points. So you have the Celtics winning in 6 or 7?
I'm going to say Celtics in 6. I think they're going to win Game 5, and there's no way they're going to let Miami steal another game in Boston. I mean, the Bucks thought they were going to do it in Game 7 here, and it just didn't work out, right? That happen? I think the Celtics are going to take it in 6. And tomorrow night will be a huge step towards that.
Okay. I like it. Anything else on the Celtics? You want to move to the Sox?
One more thing. I'm very impressed with how Ime has kept this team just firing on all cylinders. I know they had a dud, but I mean, in January, did anyone think they were going to get this far? I mean, he's got them believing in themselves. He's getting production from even Derek White. I know we picked him up, around the trade deadline, and he didn't have a great playoffs thus far, and he come up huge in Marcus Smart's absence just the other night. So I give Ime a lot of credit, and I want to also mention that Danny Ainge still should get a lot of credit for putting this team together. I mean, he had home runs with Tatum, Brown, and Robert Williams. Tremendous draft picks that you can build. Certainly Marcus Smart as well. You can build a championship team around for years. But go Celts.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Marcus Smart being hurt, Tyler Hero being hurt. I feel like that's a thing. Two important pieces right there. We'll see how both teams recover without both of those guys. But you're right. Yeah, Danny Ainge did build this team, especially Aaron E. Smith off the bench. Pritchard, those are guys he drafted. Grant Williams, he drafted all these guys. So it's really everyone on this team he brought to this team except Derek White. Yeah. The only piece really right now. Horford, I guess, coming back. Was Brad's trade right there. But
huge move as well.
I think for the most part, everything was Ainge. So you're right. That's a good point. Ainge should get some credit for that. That was Ime Udoka too. Really, to getting the team to recover after a really rough start to the season. Obviously in January, no one had high hopes for them. I didn't. So shocked to see where they are now.
I didn't either. I was surprised. They were floundering around 500, even below at times, behind even the Knicks in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, we were bad.
I was ready to give up on them. They weren't playing cohesive basketball, losing to teams that won like
San
8 games all
twice.
year. Teams that had terrible records. I mean, they gave you no feeling that they were going to turn it around, and then
lo and
behold, as Ime has got them focused, playing the best basketball maybe in the whole league for like 5 months now.
Which is nuts. So speaking of good basketball, how about good baseball? The Red Sox. If Rafael Devers just hit his 10th home run of the season, 8-0 Red Sox just hit a solo shot just before we got back on here. Hit a solo shot, 390 feet off a 96.2 mile an hour fastball from Jose Ruiz. Dylan Cease came out of the game. They took him out, pulled the plug on him after 71 pitches, gave 7 runs to the Red Sox and 8 hits in just 3 innings. So quick plug for him. Cease was pitching great too this season. So what do you think of the Red Sox? How well they've been playing of late? Obviously, Trevor Story, a guy I've talked about earlier in this show today. Trevor Story hit a 6th home run in the last 5 games, which is nuts. And then also factor in Devers just hitting his 10th home run. This team's just firing on all cylinders right now. What do you think about the Red Sox?
I'm very happy with the turnaround. There's another team that was floundering around last place with Baltimore, especially with our payroll. But, I mean, I never lost faith in them. The biggest concern always with me is the pitching, and the pitching's been pretty strong. I mean, the starters have done their job. Rich Hill has kept him in games. Walker's been a phenom for a $7 million signing. When you think about it, he was a flyer. It's turned out well. Pavetta's turned his game around. He's on his 3rd consecutive start, stoning people.
9 up, 9 down right now.
Yeah, amazing. Evaldi is still your number 1. His numbers are a little concerning, but, I mean, he still has come up big a couple of times, and I think he'll find his game. He's given up too many long balls, but the starting pitching has been tremendous. The bullpen has been somewhat of a question. I mean, they're starting Garrett Whitlock, and I think if he was the closer for, like, the last month, they probably would have won half the games that the bullpen had blown.
11 blown saves, number 1 in the MLB.
So there's no way it would have been 11. It would have been half that if Whitlock was out there. I'm not going to question Cora. They must have felt like they needed Whitlock in the rotation, who's had a couple of great starts, but when he starts and then he gets roughed up, you don't win with him starting and you don't win with him closing. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I wish they left him in the bullpen. I know hindsight's 20/20, but it's not too late. Maybe if Paxton is ready, but I don't even think Paxton's ready from what I heard on Sale. You might think about putting Whitlock back in the pen. I knew the bats would come around. I mean, Bogarts and Devers and J.D. pretty much have been the only hitters up until like a week or so ago. And now Story's on this Titanic run.
Yep.
And then you got Franchi Cordero, who's every time there's a big hit, it's him. I mean, a walk-off granny on Sunday.
A triple.
Tremendous.
Triple and a single his last 3
so
at-bats.
maybe,
single tonight too.
Maybe they're on a roll that they're certainly gaining ground in the American League East. Probably only a handful of games now out of a wild card spot, and the Yankees losing again. Out. So I mean, I've enjoyed the climb.
Yep, Yankees have lost 3 in a row right now. Could be 4 in a row. They're down 2 runs right now on the top of the 7th to the Orioles. The Orioles, I was talking about the Red Sox having an easier schedule coming up. Obviously after Chicago, they have Cincinnati and Baltimore. Cincinnati, start of the season historically is one of the worst teams in baseball history. But the Orioles have been playing well of late. 4 of their last 5 games they've won. This could be 5 out of 6 right now if they win today, which is nuts. They're playing really good baseball right now, the Orioles, in the last 6 games if they were to win tonight. So, and I mentioned earlier in the show that I like Trey Mancini. I like Cedric Mullins. I know you're a fan of both. So I'm happy to see them playing well. Obviously not against the Red Sox. You don't want that happening. But I like seeing them beat the Yankees, though. It helps us out.
I'm very surprised with Baltimore's ability to beat the Yankees. They seem to play their division, at least the Red Sox and Yankees, tough every year. They're certainly not a cakewalk. And like you said, Mullins is always on base against us. Mancini seems to come up with the clutch hit every series. So, and we got him for 5 games at the end of the month. I mean, I'd be happy with the 3-2, as long as we don't lose ground. But they're certainly not a bad team.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Red Sox up 8-0. Devers is 2 of 3. Bogarts is 2 of 2. Everyone in the lineup has a hit right now except Alex Verdugo. It's only at the top of the 4th inning. He'll probably end up getting a hit, knowing Verdugo. But isn't that nuts? So everyone in the lineup has a hit right now. Only 3 innings into the game. Verdugo's the only one. He's 0 of 2. He got on base with a walk, though. Jackie Bradley Jr. even had a double.
Yeah, Jackie's starting to hit. They say if he goes the opposite way to left field, he becomes a much better hitter. I mean, he's been making great catches all year again. People don't run on him. So if he can bat 250, it'll make the trade look okay, even though Renfroe's got a few home runs out. Was he out in Milwaukee?
10. Yeah.
That's a loss. But, I mean, I like the fact that Jackie's going to left field. He's been getting some extra base hits that way now. And guys like Kike, Hernandez, and Vasquez, I mean, if they can get their averages up to like 250, with the other guys hitting over 300, I think we're in very good shape. And I like the fact that David Ortiz came out and said the Red Sox have to find a way to keep Bogarts and not lose him.
Yeah.
So I hope Chaim Bloom and the front office is doing everything they can to keep Bogarts and Devers for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually right now, I had my prediction earlier in the show. I had Dodgers-Angels right now for the World Series. Speaking of the Dodgers, right now Mookie Betts hit his 2nd home run of the night. He's got 2 home runs tonight. He has 18 multi-home run games in the leadoff spot, which is tied right now with George Springer of a second most in MLB history. Alfonso Soriano at 19, so Mookie's going to catch him at some point. It's only 1 game away. But since May 4th, Mookie Betts in the MLB ranks 1st in home runs with 9, 1st in RBIs with 24, 1st in the MLB with 23 runs, 1st in the slugging percentage with 795 slugging percentage, 2nd in hits with 27, and 3rd in OPS 1.211. I think he's a big reason of this Dodgers team. Right now, they struggled actually earlier in the season, like the first week or 2 of the season. Right now, I think he'd be a huge reason if they were to make the World Series. Do you have any predictions for the World Series? Or I know earlier in the year you like the Brewers. The Brewers are playing really well. Any updates? Anyone you like?
Well, I'm impressed with the Yankees, even though they might be slowing down a little. But they probably have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
Maybe a game within the Dodgers or a game ahead of them. I don't know. But if the Yankees can continue having the pitching they have, I wouldn't bet against them just yet. So, I mean, if you want a prediction, I would say probably the Yankees and the Dodgers would meet in the World Series.
Yep. All right, so the Yankees are 29-13, Dodgers are 28-13. So basically same record, 2 best records in the MLB. You like Yankees, Dodgers, you said?
That would be my pick on, May 24th, yeah.
May 24th it is. Okay, you got mine right now. The Brewers are a hot team. It's 26-16. You had them originally, and they're looking good. So that's not a bad prediction there. But anything else you want to add in?
I hope the Red Sox continue this
hot streak.
Yeah, it's been real fun to watch. I know we think an easy schedule with Baltimore and Cincinnati coming up. That's eight games, I think, against those two teams.
4-4, I believe.
So I mean, you figure
3 against Cincinnati, 3 against Chicago, and then 4-4.
So I mean, if we can go like 6-2, we're only 2 games behind Toronto. I mean, it'll be more fun when we can get a lot closer to the Yankees. Maybe put a little pressure on them. So I look forward to the Red Sox continue to, mash the cover off the ball and just get a little closer to the division lead.
Yeah. 8-2 over the last 10 games. Red Sox are 9-3 over the last 12. Since Alex Cora shaved his beard, the season turned around.
And the eucalyptus head wrap that he puts on in the headband in the late innings. If we're superstitious, you got to like those 2 signs.
Yeah, if he puts that on his head and we keep hitting, I mean, hey, we're gonna win more ball games,
Cora
right?
remains clean shaven. Yes.
Hey, that's the key to success right there. I know. Also, really quick, NHL playoffs. I mentioned earlier in my show, you like the Rangers, right? The Rangers playing tonight.
Yeah. I wasn't that impressed with Carolina. I mean, the Bruins took them to the last few seconds. 5 minutes left in Game 7, and the Bruins might have stole that game in Carolina.
Yep,
absolutely. Right, so I think the Rangers can, if they pull even tonight 2-2, I'll take them in a 2 out of 3 series against Carolina. The Rangers got firepower. They got a decent goalie. And that's what it takes to win in the playoffs.
Well, I had the Rangers in my prediction tonight. The Rangers in 7 over Carolina. Well, look at this. The Rangers are up 4-1 right now. 2 minutes to go in the third period. So
great momentum going into Game 5.
winning
Then
2 straight, right? It would be.
Yeah, I mean,
2 straight home wins.
Carolina probably hasn't lost at home all playoffs yet, right? So the Rangers certainly make a statement now, scoring 4 goals. No, I don't think so. 4 goals tonight. Take that momentum into Game 5 in Carolina. They steal that game. I like their chances a lot more.
Yeah, and hey, speaking of the Rangers, former Harvard hockey player Adam Fox had the goal and assist in tonight's game. Frank Vetrano, former Bruin, goal and assist in tonight's game. And then also Chris Kreider, former BC Eagle. 4 shots on goal, didn't score tonight, but what do you have this year, 50 goals?
50 goals. Amazing for a kid from BC. Very
31 years old, too.
His production this year.
52 goals, 25 points with 77 points.
Boston College's own Chris Kreider. We love him.
You love your BC hockey, don't you?
Love the BC hockey team. Yes, and we wish Greg Brown success as he starts puts his imprint on this hockey team, becoming the new head coach. He has big shoes to fill, but the talent seems to be there. I think he's going to, be a very, very strict coach, maybe with discipline. But I think, if they can reload this year, get some good goaltending, they'll be right back where they belong, in the Frozen Four tournament.
Definitely. It's tough to replace a guy like Jerry York, though, especially with how historic he was for not only BC, but college hockey in general. He's college sports in general. Great guy, too.
Amazing record for his career, especially at BC. What was he at, like 28 years?
Yep, 28 years.
Seemed like we were in the tournament every year once they got going. I mean, they won 3 titles, national championships in 5 years. I mean, he had the talent with Johnny Gaudette, who's doing good with Calgary, Nathan Gerby.
Johnny Gaudreau. Adam Gaudette, you're thinking. Yeah, well, both Boston.
Right.
Both former Boston college hockey
York
players.
was a class guy
hockey
on and off the ice.
I meant hockey in Boston, I didn't mean BC. No, Northeastern, I mean Gaudette.
Hockey East guys doing well.
That's what I meant. There you go. You drilled it. But yeah, so Greg Brown, former BC Eagle himself. I'm looking at some of his stats right here. He had 10 goals in his freshman year at BC in 1986. I know you followed BC hockey for forever, so you probably heard the name, definitely. Yep. That's the thing. They play in the NHL as well, so he has some experience. And obviously bringing that into such a historic program like BC, he's going to be coaching. Kids are going to be in the NHL in a year or two, so they're going to be happy they have a coach that's done it. It's not like they're bringing in a random guy. But replacing Jerry York is not easy at all.
No, it's impossible. I think Brown is going to work hard. And the fact that he was here as a player, and I think he was one of York's number 1 assistants for years, is going to help him in the long run. Again, York was is a class guy on and off the ice. I haven't ever heard anyone say a bad word about him.
Yeah, I've met him probably 5-6 times walking around camps over the last 3 years, 2 years really, freshman year and junior year, and he was always a nice guy. Always said hello. He said, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Stay warm." He said when it was snowing out once. He's a good guy. He always said hello, and
very friendly.
Wish him nothing but the best in retirement. I'm sure he'll be back in the game.
I'm sure he'll be back watching games over at the Kelly Rink in the Bean Pot at the Garden. Yes,
he'll be there. Anyways, hey, anything else you want to add in?
I'm set.
That's it. Hey, thank you so much for coming on, Paul from Southie. One last time, I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk again, Joe. Thanks.
It was a pleasure having Paul from Southie come on to the show. Gave great insight into not only BC hockey, but the Red Sox, the Celtics, his World Series predictions, the NHL playoffs. I mean, he just knows everything sports. So it's great having him come on. Boston sports fanatic, knows everything. He's like an encyclopedia. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Paul, for coming on. Speaking of the Red Sox, though, really quick, want to just read off a quick Pete Abraham stat that he just wrote. He said the Red Sox have scored 89 runs in their last 13 games, counting tonight, and that's 6 fewer than they did in their first 29 games, which is nuts. Nuts how well the Red Sox are playing. As I said, 12 was the magic number for the Red Sox. Now it's 13. The last 13 games, things have just been turning around. Really happy for them. They've been playing really well, really good baseball. Hopefully they can stay hot and keep it up. The Sox need it. So lastly, I just want to close out this first episode by highlighting Northeastern baseball. They will be playing tomorrow against William and Mary in the CAA Tournament. The first game, it is double elimination, which is nice. They will be playing tomorrow at noon. at Elon Stadium in North Carolina against William & Mary. William & Mary finished the regular season on an 8-game winning streak, and they also took 2 of 3 from the Huskies at Friedman Diamond earlier this season. So hopefully it's a different story tomorrow for Northeastern. Before I break down the last few games for Northeastern, I just wanted to say it was a pleasure being able to go to as many Northeastern games as I did this year. I just want to thank Rob DiLoretto for always being the GOAT and someone to talk to at every game. It was a privilege and an honor being able to talk with you every single game, Coach. And also it was a privilege and honor also to talk with both of Mike Sirota's parents. So thank you all for making this season an enjoyable one. And something I always look forward to. I look forward to every single weekend watching Northeastern games of Friedman Diamond and also on Flow Sports. So thank you guys again. One of the most electric moments of the season did happen in a Northeastern loss, which was tough, but in a 3-2 game, Northeastern was down 3-2 on the Saturday before Senior Day against UNCW. Northeastern sent up to the plate Jeff Costello, who came up to the plate and smoked a 2-run shot to left field to give Northeastern a 4-3 lead in the bottom of the 8th. Northeastern ended up losing that match, but that was a moment to remember. Electric moment at Friedman Diamond. I was psyched. Probably the most electric moment I've been a part of with Northeastern baseball. It was awesome. Such a great sight to see. Obviously, Northeastern lost, but at the end of the day, they still made the CAA tournament, so there's no worries at the end of the day there. As long as they make it into the tournament, anything can happen now since everyone's 0-0. So after the last home weekend series against UNCW, Northeastern still just needed one win in their final series against Delaware to make it into the CAA tournament. And of course, as always, sports, it always comes down to the last game. Last Saturday, with the season on the line. Sophomore pitcher Eric Yost started on the mound for Northeastern. It took care of business. He pitched really well. Do-or-die game for the Skis, and Yost got it done. Northeastern found themselves down 1-0 in the 3rd inning, but ended up scoring 8 unanswered scoreless. Actually, after that inning, they gave up a run in the 3rd, and Northeastern was scoreless after that. Scored 8 straight runs unanswered to win the game 8-1. Danny Crossan had a huge RBI double in the 5th inning. Jeff Costello followed it up with the 2-run RBI double to right center. I believe, if I remember right, Northeastern scored. It was a 1-1 game up until the 7th inning. Yes, Northeastern scored 7 runs in the top of the 8th inning. So Crossan had that double to tie the game in the 5th inning. And then Jeff Costello in the 8th inning got the runs going for Northeastern. They ended up scoring 7 runs in the 8th. Jeff Costello, as I said, 2-run double to right center. Later on, Danny Crossan got up again, actually, in the same inning. Hit a huge sac fly to score Corey DiLoretto in. Corey DiLoretto actually reached base twice to walk that game to make it a 5-1 game. And then to put the exclamation point on the game, Buddy Maroka, the former Harvard hockey and baseball player, he was a 2-sport athlete at Harvard, walked up to the plate and hammered a 3-run home run for his first career home run as a Husky. Put the exclamation point of the game, gave Northeastern an 8-1 win, which was huge. Eric Yost went 6 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 unearned run, striking out 7 while walking 3 batters. Yost lowered his ERA in the year to 1.84, had a fantastic sophomore season. Jordy Allard was stellar in relief once again. He went 3 scoreless innings, striking out 4 Delaware hitters. Allard picked up his 4th win of the season, which was huge for him. So Wednesday, as I said, tomorrow at noon, Northeastern will be facing William & Mary in the first game of the CAA tournament. It's double elimination, as I said, so not completely do or die, but I'd love to get a win, obviously, and start hot. Hopefully Mike Sirota is back in the lineup for the Huskies. I had the pleasure of meeting Mike Sirota and Corey DiLoretto on Senior Day a little over a week ago now. 2 great players and 2 nice guys as well. Wishing them and the Huskies nothing but the best in the CAA tournament. Mike Sirota hasn't played actually since April 22nd. Would be great for the Huskies to have him back in the lineup. He had a 6-game hitting streak right before the injury, and obviously I've covered him a ton in my sports radio show at BC. He's a huge part of this Northeastern lineup, just like Corey DiLoretto. I've said it a ton before, but the lineup in general was not the same without Mike Sirota and Corey DiLoretto, both missing games. Obviously, guys did step up. Max Riera got hot. Spencer Smith got hot in their absences. J.P. Elson's had a terrific season for Northeastern hitting-wise. He's been playing great. But that's the thing. Guys did step up, but I feel like the best lineup you're going to have is when Sirota and DiLoretto are in the lineup. So hopefully Sirota's back in the lineup tomorrow. Mike has had a fantastic freshman season, and as I said, Northeastern would love to have him back. He hit .326 in the regular season, .922 OPS, hit 4 home runs, hit 20 guys across the plate, 20 RBIs, and also had 10 stolen bases in 37 games. Fantastic glove in the outfield as well. He'll be playing this summer for Brewster, actually, in the Cape Cod League, and I look forward to recapping some games on here for him this season. I've said it a ton before, though, in this Northeastern team, they have what it takes. They really do. And I'm looking forward to seeing them get hot, hopefully, in the CAA tournament. Obviously, it didn't all come together this year. They ended up going on like a 5 or 6 game win streak at one point at the end of the season, but they didn't put it completely together like they did in the 2021 season where they won, 20 plus games in a row. But I'll tell you this, though, I really do think they have what it takes. If I had to guess right now, I think Wyatt Scotty will be on the mound tomorrow for Northeastern versus William & Mary. He did pitch against them earlier in the year, went 8 innings, struck out 7 guys, and allowed 4 hits and 2 runs while walking none on April 3rd to give Northeastern a huge 3-2 win over the Tribe. And let me see, he's on the year, 7-3, 2.57 ERA. It'd obviously be a huge opportunity for him to get Northeastern a huge win to start the CAA tournament if he is indeed on the mound and delivers against the Tribe again. I'd love to see him there on the hill for a big game. Anyways, Corey DiLoretto, one guy I want to highlight really quick again. He had a great senior season. He did miss 7 games with an injury, but is still playing right now with the torn ligament in his thumb. He's as tough as they come, just like his father, Rob DiLoretto, head coach, Everett High Football. Everett High Football, legit powerhouse and cream of the high school football crop. Had him on my radio show, my last episode actually at BC for the semester he came on. So thank you again, Rob, for always coming on. I really do appreciate it. Looking forward to hopefully seeing Sirota back in the lineup. It would be great. Huge fuel for that Northeastern team. I know every game's great to watch when Sirota's in the lineup, especially when everyone's healthy. I feel like this Northeastern lineup, they haven't really had a healthy lineup in however knows long, since DiLoretto got hurt and then Sirota got hurt. So hopefully everyone's back for tomorrow. Would be a great way for Northeastern to get back to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, last year, Northeastern won the CAA tournament over UNCW and punched a ticket to the NCAA tournament. They used to play in the big games. Northeastern does not shy away from big games. I think they could do it. They have everything it takes, as we've seen with them beating and sweeping the number 8 team in the country, NC State, at NC State earlier this year. They also handed number 15 team of the country, Clemson, their first loss this season, and also beat number 13 team of the country, UConn, at UConn 2 to 3 weeks ago now. They play great small ball, can play elite defense, can pitch better than any team in this tournament. Records don't matter when you make the playoffs. Everyone's 0-0. It's just all about putting it together. And at the end of the day, the way I see it is, why not us? Let's go get them, boys. Let's go. Get us a W tomorrow. Start the CAA tournament hot. Looking forward to it. Roll skis as always. Can't wait to see them get going. Hopefully start this tournament tomorrow with a win would be a huge way to get things going. Then again, it could be Cam Schlittler on the mound instead of Wyatt Scotty. Could be Eric Yost. Who knows? We know Mike Levin always tries to put his team in the best position to win. So whoever he thinks can give the team the best chance to win, that's who will be on the mound. So I'm looking forward to seeing who that is. Roll skis. Best of luck tomorrow, boys. Go get them for me. Hopefully bring us home a win. Hopefully bring home another CAA tournament. We'll love to see us back in the NCAA tourney. Anyways, to close up the show, I'll check in with the Red Sox one last time. They've been hot tonight. 16-2 right now. They are winning right now over the White Sox. It's only the 5th inning, too. 16-2, top of the 5th. Red Sox are up. Christian Vasquez just hit a 2-run shot. A 3-run shot to center field. Frigi Corderos, hot. He had a single. Every Red Sox player in the lineup has a hit right now. Vasquez is 3 of 4. Corderos 2 of 4. Story's 2 of 4. Verdugo and Bogarts are the only guys with only 1 hit in the lineup. Martinez is 3 of 3. Devers is 2 of 4. Hernandez is 2 of 4. Cordero's 2 of 2, with also a couple walks for Cordero as well. 1 walk for Cordero, so he's 3 times on base. Jackie Bradley Jr. has even got 2 hits. This team's hot right now. This Red Sox team, no one wants to face them. They're 19-22 right now, looking at 20-22 after this win right now. Things are looking up for this Sox team. I was talking about the Orioles and the Yankees earlier in the show, probably about 10, 15, 20 minutes ago now. The Yankees actually are tied now, 5-5. Big for them. They needed to get back in this game. The Yankees scored 2 runs in the 7th inning, the bottom of the 7th, to tie the game at 5 apiece. Now it's on the top of the 10th, 5-5, with the Orioles. See who wins that game. should be a good one to see the end of. Anyways, just want to close it out by saying I apologize once again before I close out. I apologize for all the statistics I've given in this episode. I really did have fun exploring the baseball reference page to look over every Red Sox player's stats over the last 10 or so games and crunching all the numbers up from the game logs and seeing, how well they've been hitting average-wise, home runs-wise, comparing the Red Sox runs in the first 29 games of the season compared to the last 12, now the last 13 games with how well they've been hitting tonight. I really did have fun doing that, so I'm sorry for all the analytics. I really did have a good time exploring and diving into that and surfing into the Red Sox game logs. What really surprised me most was the breakdown of Matt Barnes' numbers after the July 2021 extension he got from Chaim Bloom. I found all that through filtering Matt Barnes' appearances from July 11th to today. It's just crazy how much a fall off he had, but I'd say that was another thing. So I used Fangraphs, and I also used baseball references to find all these. And some of these things come from, some of the stats come from Pete Abraham and Rob Bradford and Alex Spear and Chris Smith and Chris Cotillo. I always shout them out and give credit where it's due. So to close out this episode, I just want to thank every single one of you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast. As I said before, I'm your host, Joey Maylari. It's a pleasure being able to do this, and I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to a breakdown of the Red Sox, Northeastern baseball, the Celtics, the NHL Playoffs. Even had a guest appearance on from Paul from Southie come into the show and talk about BC hockey and the Celtics and the Red Sox. So hopefully you guys really enjoyed this. I did have a lot of fun breaking down a lot of these statistics of the Red Sox. So I should be back on again next week. As I said, I'm hopefully going to do this once a week. Who knows if Northeastern goes on a huge run this weekend in the CAA Tournament, maybe I'll be doing this again after the CAA Tournament really soon. Hopefully they get going there and you can bring home a win, bring home a CAA championship back to Huntington Ave. And then hopefully the Red Sox keep staying strong, and even the Celtics. I'll be back on definitely at least a week from now. I'll have at least another episode out, and as I said, I'm hopefully going to have some guests come onto the show as well to come on and talk sports with me, whether it's the Red Sox, Celtics, NBA playoffs, all that. Looking forward to it. So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. Hope you stay safe. Hope you stay well. I appreciate it again. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Take it easy. See you guys again soon. Thank you.